changed Dover's history forever was a man named Walt Schoenknecht, who came to the Deerfield Valley in search of an area to put up a ski area.
He went to Vermont with his father, and he called back very excited that he'd found the place. And I said, well, where is this? And he said, West Dover in Vermont.
They found this mountain that looked pretty enticing. It looked like it could be developed into a ski area. And it was the Reuben Snow Farm. His father only had $20 with him. So he put $20 to seal the deal. And that was the real start of Mount Snow.
The phone rang one evening, and this voice said, hello, John. You may not remember me. My name's Walt Schoenknecht. But that has to be one of the most bizarre comments that ever uttered by man, because whoever met Walt Schoenknecht, even for 1 minute, and didn't remember it, how could you forget Walt Schoenknecht?
Walt was a dreamer, and he was always having grand ideas.
He seemed like he was 10 feet tall.
It seemed to me that he had some gestures that his arms would extend 15 feet.
Like Mohammed, East Havener went to a mountain and found skiing.
When skiing first started, I think we were very skeptical. You know, Walt Schoenknecht had more dreams and visions in his mind than almost anybody I can imagine.
I was struck years later when I saw Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams. I mean, that story could have been Walt Schoenknecht in Mount Snow. I mean, Mount Snow was Walt Schoenknecht's Field of Dreams.
It was a little hard to really envision that skiing could be a worthwhile operation other than just plain foolishness.
I don't know where Kevin Costner got the money to build the baseball field, but we know where Walter got it. He borrowed it.
Walter was then offering shares in the new venture for, I believe, $1,000 a share, which he guaranteed would go up in value, which they did after about 20 years.
And he said, oh, we're going to do wonderful things for our stockholders. We're going to have parties, we're going to go down in the islands, and oh, he was dreaming again of all the things that he was going to do. Well, we barely got to pass from Mount Snow, let alone anything else. That was about it.
Looking at the mountain, we can see the vast network of trails and slopes. Each year, new trails and lifts are being added, offering the skier an extremely wide choice of terrain.
Walt found the perfect mountain. He found a mountain that has that perfect balance of challenge and comfort. When you ski this mountain, you feel good.
The trail layout here was the first sensible approach that I've seen to real trails as they are today. But most of his trails were to the center. In other words, if you got off the center of the trail, you didn't go flying into the woods someplace.
Laying out a ski trail is an art. And, you know, Walter, in a sense, in addition to being a genius, he was also an artist of sorts. And he sculpted the mountain and he sculpted the base area.
He just had a feeling for the terrain and that this would be good and we'd need an upsweep this way and a little curve here, and he'd cut it that way and then grade it. And he stood out there and he told the guys what he wanted, the bulldozer operators what he wanted. He knew exactly how to do it.
This lift has a capacity of 1,200 skiers per hour.
His idea of chairlifts was original. He had chairs drawn by chains that were originally, I think, the idea that they used to use in meat lockers when they were slaughtering beef and so on. They used to hang them on chains, and the chains would go into the freezer and so on.
Walter didn't invent the link-built tram system. Link-Belt invented it probably for the Ford Motor Company, where Walter first saw it, hauling fenders down into baths. Walter was attracted to it for only one reason, and that was his objective was 1,200 skiers an hour. 1,200 skiers an hour is 2 skiers getting off a chair every 6 seconds. Nothing in skiing came close to that. Stowe's chair was 175 skiers an hour, not 1,200.
Who said the capacity is 1,200 per hour?
My roommate from college had a girlfriend with a white ski parka, and that early lift dripped grease on the white ski parka among everybody else's, but it showed up much more prominently on the white ski parka. And it became kind of a trademark. I've skied at Mount Snow. I have grease on my parka.
There's even one lift that'll bring you from the hotel to the base lodge.
He loved pedestrianization. You know, it's why he built the air car going over from Snow Lake Lodge to the base lodge. He wanted to get people out of their automobiles.
The place was just loaded with extreme ideas. You know, a 400-foot fountain.
I think the fountain kind of did me in with Walt. He'd been to Geneva and he'd seen this 400-foot fountain.
Fountain Mountain was from a fountain that he thought would look nice in the summer in the lake. And as I recall, the pipes froze in the winter, so the solution to that was to keep the pipes running throughout the winter, and it built up a tremendous mound of ice. The first year wasn't all that big, but then it got to be a game to see how big it could get, and it got to pretty enormous proportions. But it was a great place to fool around in the spring and sled and ski, and there were races on it. And it was a trademark of Snow Lake Lodges as well, to see how much ice you could have on your windshield in the parking lot.
Nobody wanted the fountain. The bankers didn't, nobody wanted the fountain, okay? Just Walt. So we had a $45,000 budget for this fountain. I know that it went over $200,000.
Anything that was a little out of the ordinary, Dad liked to do.
No one had ever put a 500-gallon tropical fish tank inside a ski lodge.
Well, those fish all froze.
Walter had gotten some notoriety for having conceived of the idea of dropping the atomic bomb between Stratton Mountain and Mount Snow to create a bowl that would provide sufficient vertical descent so we could have 800 vertical meters to host the Olympics.
Here's a copy of his press release, which is undated, but we know that it was 1963. It would create a bowl nearly 1,700 feet in diameter and as deep as 400 feet. And it might increase snow capacity and open new underground water sources. The idea that it set off an atomic bomb and it might do something is just really something to be contemplated.
Yes, it was all showmanship.
As a kid, I knew that Mount Snow was something special. I knew that it was different from other skiers. It was sort of like having Disney World here in the Deerfield Valley, and we sort of like looked at Walt Schoenknecht as the Walt Disney of the ski industry.
When the traditional thing to do to build the most modern of ski resorts was to, inside the base lodge, build a heated swimming pool and then flood somewhere outside and let people skate. Well, Walter put the skating rink inside and the swimming pool outside.
The indoor skating rink is frozen year-round and is an ideal form of entertainment for young and old. Here in the sauna pool, water is kept at 102 degrees throughout the winter, offering comfortable swimming at sub-zero temperatures. Even the surrounding terrace is radiant heated. Hot water swimming really relaxes tired ski muscles. The large mirror lounge on the roof reflects the sun's rays into the pool and provides an excellent place to sunbathe, as these girls are doing.
And I can still see those people swimming in that pool coming out of there. And the girls particularly, they'd come out and their hair would just be frozen up like this.
Of course, Mount Snow has 2 heated outdoor swimming pools and an indoor pool. And there are Japanese dream pools in the Snow Lake Lodge, one cold, one hot, to relax you after a day of skiing.
Walt had the idea of a Japanese dream pool, and he assembled a lot of tropical plants, and this was, I don't think the pool was quite finished, but he had all these plants that had arrived from the south, and as I remember, every single one froze.
Dad liked trees of all kinds. He'd try growing things anywhere, stuff that wasn't supposed to grow in Vermont. He could make grow. If it didn't grow outside, he'd grow it inside.
It was a Saturday, and he was running through the base lodge, and he was very busy, and he couldn't stop. And I said, I really need to talk to you. He said, not now. I've got 100 things I've got to do. And I said, I want to talk to you about your trees. And he said, oh, shall we sit here?
We take you to Mount Snow, Westover, Vermont, for a demonstration of ski technique by school director Harvey Clifford, international racer and Olympic coach. Here is the proper way to carry your skis. Harvey recommends that all beginners have their equipment checked by an expert before starting for the slopes.
The ski school at that time was reputed to be the best ski school in North America. We had very strict instructions when we came here. We had white, clean turtlenecks. Our boots had to be spit-shined. I think that the ski instructors were selected based on the ability to be able to mingle with the people after skiing as well. We had evening entertainment for the pupil. We actually put on skits ourselves where we had a lot of fun.
This is Thomas Dorff, the first primitive ski when he stepped on 2 brontosaurus ribs while walking down a glacier.
Those ski instructors weren't the sort of haughty type. These guys were used to taking out classes every day, having luncheon with their class, maybe having dinner or having a few beers after skiing with their class, and going to bed with some of their class. Oh, no, but they were entertaining.
All right, Fonzie. Fonzie was preoccupied with being cool on the slopes. It was the only thing that kept him warm out there. Fonzie was accustomed to using quite a bit of grease on his hair.
Harvey arrives just in time to organize the 10 o'clock lesson.
Walt had a very strong identification with guys who didn't have a lot of money, and gals, and wanted to ski. So Walt's contribution to that end of it was to try to put together a learn to ski week that was so inexpensive, it was absolutely irresistible. All right, $29.95, I think, was the ticket that included the lessons. $59.95 was a bunk room and food, 2 meals, and ticket and lessons for a week.
I can still see that ad in Skiing, $27.50 for a 5-day ski week, and we're all scratching our heads at Killington going, how can they do that? They couldn't.
He was always in financial difficulty, and that was usually the subject of the moment. You know, my goodness, what am I going to do now?
I was asking him how we were going to address this problem, and Walter looked at me and said, John, let's rise above it.
Mom really held an awful lot of it together behind the scenes. She was responsible for keeping his feet on the ground.
Oh, everything he was going to do was going to be successful. There was no doubt in his mind. Sometimes we had to make little adjustments.
He thought differently from the way the rest of us think. And that was both what created Mount Snow and contributed to what happened at Mount Snow.
Walter really had to give up much of the company and then watched it go through quite a slide, which was very painful to him. I'm talking about the mid-70s period where the Fleischmans were involved.
Well, I think the biggest problem Mount Snow had was the fact that from the early 70s up until just before it was purchased by Sherburne Corporation, it didn't snow.
At the beginning of this winter, there was a lot of publicity, a lot of talk about Mount Snow being in grave financial difficulties. Well, we're in the winter of '76, one of the best winters we've had in at least 5 years. And here at Mount Snow, we're talking with Alan Fleischman, who's general manager. Alan, how are things going?
Things are going well for us. We're in the middle of one of our best winters we've ever had, and I think that if this keeps up the way it's going so far, I think we're going to, look like real heroes.
My sense is that Davos tended to look at this like their other investments, and a meatpacking plant is different from a ski area.
Mount Snow had built their reputation on skating rinks and swimming pools and Fountain Mountain, and they didn't really have any snowmaking. Our first mission, we knew, was we needed to make some money at this place. So we felt that the cost of heating the pool and the skating rink and running the air car, which was totally inefficient, was just too much for us to absorb. So we really took away a lot of those amenities. And now, as we look back, probably 17 years, I almost wish we still had the swimming pool in front of the base lodge.
The new management was in the process of making Mount Snow a bit more serious and getting rid of the frills. The frills being the outdoor pool and the indoor skating rink and the air car. But there was still a considerable amount of fun to be had.
Each time they dance to the wind, I can hear the bells join in to fill the mountains and the valleys with their song.
Every year, we added to the snowmaking and either added or replaced a lift or did a major league upgrade. The last gondola went out in '87, was replaced with a detachable quad.
They expanded their trails. They purchased Corinthia ski area. They purchased many of the surrounding real estate areas. Of course, I wasn't smart enough to buy some real estate. Make $1 million, they pay their bills promptly, and management has seemed to be doing a good job.
I think we've, really made the transition into the 90s at Mount Snow. We got into the snowboarding program here, and we really put in the first snowboard park in the East 2 years ago. Another thing we've done at Mount Snow that I think is really fun is the Bear Trap Bump Trail. We widened it, we put snowmaking on it, and then we put a 600-watt sound system with big blowout speakers on every tower, and we play rock and roll music on Bear Trap all day long, and it's turned into a happening. We've added snowmobile tours, we've added ice skating, we've added a sledding hill with lights at night.
The other thing I think that we're all very grateful for is that Mount Snow bought Haystacks.
Well, I always thought the possibility that Mount Snow and Haystack would get together, all right, was always going to happen.
I think if Walt came back to Mount Snow today and took a look at the mountain and took a look at what we were doing at Mount Snow, he would probably have about 10 great ideas he'd want to share with us right away.
I know he'll say, that is my mountain, that is my dream, and I dreamt this, and here it is.
I've got all of the old plans and maps and all the harebrained schemes that he had. We're starting to cycle back now to some of the things that he did.
That's nice that things are coming full circle and that the mountain is offering more.
He just wondered where the pool was. It's the only thing missing.
The greatness of Mount Snow is still ahead of it, I'm sure.
Every day you go up on the mountain, it's different. That's why skiing's going to be around a long time, because 40 years ago, it was no different. People were coming here for the same thrills.
I don't see any reason. You don't get earthquakes here in Vermont, at least not yet, that it shouldn't be the same forever and ever.